Texas men's basketball lose their third straight, and Derrick Rose tears his meniscus again. All this and much more coming up on College Crossfire.
What the hell's the rest of it?
Who's the rest of it?
Taylor's not even here to defend himself.
I'm so excited.
Welcome in to tonight's episode of College Crossfire. Subbing for Jeff Barker, I'm your host, Brooks Kubena. Let's get right into it by introducing you to tonight's panel. Here on our right over here, it's the reigning champion from last week, Matt Adams. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How about you?
That's great. I'm doing good. Staying out of the cold, getting ready to see if you're going to continue this run or if these guys have anything to say about it. Next to him is Julien Owens. He came in earlier to start the semester. You feeling better about it this time?
I feel better. I think I can actually try to dethrone Matt tonight.
Okay, well, try and do. There is no try. You must do. All right, and then we have Jonny Cramer over here. It's been a year hiatus, but welcome back, buddy.
Thank you, Brooks. You know, I would say I was studying abroad, but I'm just lazy. So.
Well, we're glad to have you back with us anyway. We'll see how these people contend here on College Crossfire, and we'll head right into it. The Texas men's basketball team traveled to Morgantown, West Virginia, desperate to stop a potential 3-game losing streak. The Mountaineers built a 15-point lead in the first half that Texas could not overcome after Jonathan Holmes was thrown out for elbowing Devin Williams in the face. The Beavers are now 8th in the conference, and at 17-11, Texas is on the bubble for making the tournament. So, guys, is there any March Madness hope for this team right now? Matt, we'll start with you.
As much as I don't want us to make it as bad as a stretch as the Longhorns are on, they will make a spot in the tournament. I believe they will be in one of the elimination games early on before a round of 64 starts. But definitely small margin of hope.
Right, so with all the games that come up, it's a little bit difficult for them. They got Kansas coming up, some tough games.
Oh,
What you think they're gonna
Kansas and Baylor are definitely going to be tough. Kansas going to Lawrence should be a loss for the Longhorns, unfortunately. Baylor, slight hope. But there again, going into that game, 4-game losing streak here, I see Baylor coming in with the win there too.
Okay. Well, the chants are coming out from the peanut gallery over there. But Julien, what's your idea?
All hope is lost. I think all hope is absolutely lost. Just think about it. You're on a 3-game losing streak. You're going into Saturday, going into Kansas, think you're going to win Kansas. Of course, we know Texas can't do it. They just look so inconsistent nowadays. And so with that being said, from the game they played against West Virginia, even though they did come from an 18-point deficit, they dropped from the 9th spot to the 12th by way of looking at it bracketology. So with that being said, if they projected like I think they're going to, they're going to be 1-5 going into the tournament. I don't see them making it to the tournament in any way, shape, or form. I see them watching at home.
Right, so looking at it being at a 12 seed, do you see them actually getting a chance to have a play in at all, or just sitting out?
Sitting out. I don't. The way that they're playing, I don't think that we should. Texas should not get any kind of mercy for this. Just you were top 10 in preseason, and now you can barely even win on Big 12 games. No.
All right, the harsh but seemingly truth from Julien Owens. So, John, what do you think?
Well, Brooks, before I answer your question, I just want to tell you that, first of all, I really respect and admire the poise and leadership you are showing tonight, taking over the show. You know, the guy who usually hosts the show, can't remember his name right now, but he is, to me, he's like a Drew Bledsoe. He went down sick. You know what? I don't think that guy's getting his job back. You're taking over, and you're taking this show to new heights. And guess what? You're terrific.
All right. So
you have it for the win.
So you're getting your points in early.
Yes. Having said that, the Longhorns will not make the tournament.
Okay.
4 games under 500 in the Big 12. No impressive road wins. I just don't see it.
All right. Well, as much as you guys put points into it, I got to get Johnny in for getting in on the old Brooks Kubena. So he gets the point to start. All right, that's a trend y'all should probably follow. We're going to go into the second question here now. Sticking into the basketball reign, Rick Barnes is now facing the possibility of his team missing the tournament twice in the last 3 years. Texas has not advanced to the Sweet 16 since 2008. Those are the facts. So I ask you, are Rick Barnes' days over at UT? Julien, we'll start with you.
I say Rick Barnes' days were over since Texas hasn't made it to the final game, the national championship game with KD. I thought it was the end of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. You had a very great team with Micah Bongo, Julian Lewis, and Ions Papapetru. 2 years ago, and you couldn't even make it to NCAA tournament. You couldn't even make it to the second round tournament. I don't even know the name of it. And I don't even remember the third name tournament that they went to and lost in first round. That was
CBI, yeah.
CBI, thank you, CBI. Crap. Now you go to next season, you basically, the season's on turnish. Everybody thinks that the team was going to do well. You actually go to the round of 32. Now you have one of the best recruits from this high school prospects. You can't even do anything. This team looks so much like 2012, 2013's basketball team. Like, I'm sorry, he needs to get rid of that. This team should be almost like Louisville, Kentucky dominating teams, and you can't even go against Big 12 and win any kind of games. You're, like you said, 4 games down, 500. It's time to clean sweep the house. Time to.
Well, the 12 straight tournaments you do mention with players like Kevin Durant getting out in the second round, perhaps it doesn't really seem to be at the par. Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Barnes' days at UT are coming to an end. Obviously, this season, if it ends without an NCAA tournament bid, a complete disaster. Patterson, the new AD, coming in, he probably wants his own guy. I think, however, a little ironic twist here, Brooks, the downfall of Rick Barnes is going to be how good a recruiter he actually is. Might not be the best coach, but he's a great recruiter. The talent he brings here raises the expectation level. If this team started the season unranked, no one at this university would really care. No one would have batted an eye, but he was such a good recruiter, loaded up this team with talent. We started 9th in the country. Therefore, when it falls off, now everyone's upset. Whereas if this team started unranked, ended unranked, and went to the NIT, I think he might still have a job.
I think you've got an interesting point. I mean, this is pretty much the same team as last year, just adding Miles Turner in and having a chance to see Kendall Yancey at his game. So expectations do come with it, but I do feel like Rick Barnes has to live up to those expectations once they come. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, he definitely needs to live up to those expectations. When it comes to the recruiting note, you say he's a great recruiter, but he hasn't done anything with the 2012 class that came in, third in the nation, bringing in Miles Turner. He couldn't keep the Harrison twins or Julius Randle from the 2013 class. He couldn't keep them in the state. They all left for Kentucky. He has a lot of talent here, and he just can't seem to be able to produce with it. Since that Sweet 16 win, making it to the Elite Eight, just not a lot to show for it here. And I do believe Patterson wants his own guy in here and start off with a new slate here, hopefully.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Obviously, there's talent, and he hasn't built what we all thought he could.
Well, both your points. I mean, Patterson coming in, he already has gotten a chance to get in a new coach for football. But, Julian, I like your answer the most just because look at the last couple of years that Texas has faced. These straight years, you can talk about having the 12 straight tournament appearances, but not being able to do much with those recruits. I think Julian has the most point on that. So there you go. Well, moving into the NFL, 5 Longhorns participated in the NFL Combine, including defensive tackle Malcolm Brown and Quandre Diggs. Texas had 0 players drafted last year, and it seems that trend will end. Which Texas player do you feel most elevated his draft stock by the performance in the Combine? Johnny, we'll start with you.
I would go with Malcolm Brown, the fat one.
All right, you might be losing your point on that one.
Just because he had the most to lose going to the Combine, the only one thought of as a first-round pick, and guess what? Coming out of it, he's still thought of as a first-round pick. Pretty good workout, over 20 reps on the bench press, right around a 540, which is great for a guy that fat. And so he really had the most to lose, and guess what? He kept it going, and he's probably going to be a first-round pick now because of it, probably top 20 even. So he's going to be cashing checks and snapping necks next year on Sunday.
Well, Cramer seems a little infatuated by the biology of human life, so it's going along through. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I don't want to know what he has to say about Vince Wilfork now, that's for sure. But I definitely think Quandre Diggs helped his stock a lot. I know he's undersized for being a corner when you play at 5'9", but he does have the pedigree, having Quinn Jammer there to look up to. He had a great 40 time with a 4.56. I know some would be like, I want to see more, but for him, that was a good showing. I know you say Malcolm Brown, but Malcolm Brown, as long as he at least he stayed consistent, he's going to be a first-round pick here. Jordan Hicks, people wanted to see more out of him, but people had a lot going in for him, so that's why I stick with Quandre Diggs here.
So Quandre coming in, do you feel like he'll end up in the first or second?
I still say he'll probably be a day 3. We have to see what he does here at UT Pro Day. Maybe he works up into day 2.
All right, Julian, what do you think?
As much as I like to see Quandre, I like to see Jordan Hicks stock actually go by. I have to say Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle, or in your case, the fat one, to get this draft stock going. As you can say, his 40 was really not. It wasn't as great as everybody thought it was going to be, but it was up there. It was in the top 25 of the prospects that's coming into the draft. His bench press, as he mentioned, was over 25 reps. So you can say that. That's pretty nice to say on there. His power was a little over 100, so you can also say that was great. And so, as you were talking about Cramer, he was the first-round pick coming in, and everybody thought that even past the combine or when Pro Day comes up, that he was going to basically drop because they didn't think he was going to have enough progress. And he showed you at the combine that he could stay as a first-round pick. I got to say, I'm sorry, Quandre, he's a great corner to me, but he hasn't had the performance in the combine to actually help his stock up.
Right, I understand y'all's points about Malcolm Brown obviously going through being impressive, but Matt, I really feel like he already had a lot of that going into the combine. I think Quandre really did prove a lot more to the guys in the NFL, so your point through. So we're all tied going into our first break of the night. Coming up, we'll talk about Derrick Rose's future and the problems NFL teams will have to address with Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with all that and more after the break. Back here on College Crossfire, and here's how the scores look after round 1. We're Matt Adams, Julien Owens, and Jonny Cramer, all tied up at 1, but I have a feeling as we go into this next block, we'll start to see these guys distance away. So we'll cut right into it. The Chicago Bulls have been struck by yet another injury to star point guard Derrick Rose. The Bulls were 3rd in the Eastern Conference standings when Rose went down last night, and now the NBA Finals hopes seem lost. But what about Rose's future? Have his injuries become too much of a liability for the Bulls to hold on to him? Johnny, we'll start with you.
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking at it this way, if you're running a restaurant and your head chef gets the flu all the time, you can't keep him on staff. It's that simple.
All right, concise. It's fine. I wouldn't want that in my restaurant. Julian?
I would have to agree with Cramer on this one. I'm sorry. That was a very great analogy. I just have to feel like this is the same problem with almost like Yao Ming in his later career in the Rockets. You're just seeing the consistency of his injuries, and it's just like, do I want to keep giving him this kind of money for his play, or if he's going to stay injured all the time, or is it time for us to pack our bags and go? And I think, unfortunately, as a huge Bulls fan, and I hate to say it, but I think it's time to start looking for that potential point guard that's actually going to fill his spot.
I mean, this guy was an MVP for the Bulls, and at this point, they were making a run for the finals. Matt, do you really feel like it's over for him?
I do think the window is slipping for him. I know he's MVP, but since the injuries, he just keeps dropping from MVP to being an all-star here to now. I don't know what's going to shake out here other than maybe he can just be at least a consistent role player for the Chicago Bulls. You see it all the time in the NBA where Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, even Bernard King, it's just a history of players that get hurt. They have to accept just being role players.
All right, Julian,
I think the best option for him for the remainder of his money for this contract, he has enough. Just cut his legs off and just put metal legs on there and just be like, hey.
Okay. Hey, we're not that advanced in technology, all right?
I think point guard.
Well, Matt, I just don't see Derrick Rose in the same pedigree as, Penny Hardaway is nowhere near the pedigree that Derrick Rose has been. So I really doubt that he becomes a role player for the Bulls if that's where he sticks. I mean, Julian and Cramer, both of y'all make great points, but Cramer.
No one gets the point.
Our cameraman Mark Skoll, big Bulls fan, says no one gets a point, but someone has to. Johnny, I like your analogy, so we're going to go ahead and go with the creativity on that. So you step into the lead.
Cameraman, you know we need another point guard. You know we need another one.
Well, over the past year, star running backs Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice were both suspended and released by their teams after acts of domestic abuse. Both players are in their late 20s and have plenty left in their careers, but that is not the controversy. Will any NFL team risk picking up Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice? Julian, we'll start with you.
All right. I've been looking at it, been actually thinking about this one. I do think someone's going to pick up AP. I actually do think it's Indianapolis. What? Anyways, I think Indianapolis will pick up AP. They need a quarterback. They need a running back. Richardson. Look, Cowboys need him too. I understand that, but But
Well, we can see that by the hoodie.
look, you see it from my beanie. I love the Cowboys, but again, I don't think the Cowboys need him. AP is a great running back, but they need him somewhere where he's actually going to be, and he's still in his prime. With that being the case, Ray Rice, I don't see him going anywhere.
All right. Well, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I see Adrian Peterson being picked up by somebody else, having the last 2 seasons over 3,000 yards, had over 2,000 yards and won the MVP over Peyton Manning. I think people will give him a chance. Cowboys, I don't know if they'll take a chance. Indy, I don't see it. Somebody within the NFC North might take a chance, risk it a little bit, and see if they can get something out of him. Ray Rice, on the other hand, I just don't see anybody giving him another shot the way he was portrayed in the NFL here. Not excusing his act, but he has suffered extra repercussions by the NFL.
Right, and you mentioned the NFC North for Adrian Peterson. I mean, getting back into the Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit land, Chicago. I mean, these are all teams that seem to have running backs already. Johnny, what do you think?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm looking for an argument here, but this panel is just too intelligent. My fellow panelists are 100% correct. You have to look at it. It's risk, reward. Do the rewards outweigh the risks? With Ray Rice, absolutely not. He had his worst year of his career, his last year playing in Baltimore last year. Yards per carry dipped almost under 3 yards a carry, an aging running back. But you saw that. You wouldn't even take that guy in a lot of instances, even if he didn't have off-the-field baggage. So there's no way the rewards outweigh the risks there. And AP still might be one of the best 5 running backs in football. He'll definitely get another shot.
Well, the risks, the reward for Adrian Peterson bringing in, you've got a guy that has a lot of potential left and can probably take you back to a Super Bowl if you have a chance to put him on your roster. But, Matt, I like your take. I think Adrian Peterson's going to get a chance to come back through. But, Julien, I'm going to have to go with Julien's here because Indianapolis seems like the best fit for him. I think he displayed that well. So, Julien, you've stepped in for the tie of the lead. So, for our last round 2 question, we're going to talk college basketball again. 5 teams are currently in the Big 12 title hunt with 1 week of conference play remaining. Kansas still remains at the top, but they've got tough teams remaining. Will the Jayhawks hold on for their 11th straight Big 12 title, or will another team squeak through? Johnny, what do you think?
All right, well, Brooks, you already got another analogy for you here. If you've watched a movie 10 times in a row, and it's ended the same way 10 times, the 11th time you watch that movie, it's going to end the same way. Kansas is going to take it.
See, I'm still watching the end of Inception and hoping it ends in a different way. But I'm going to keep trying. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think this is Kansas' conference to hang on to and win. I know some would argue, well, they've only won it outright 6 times, but I mean, they still have won this, conference 10 times. So I know they're not as great as some of the other Kansas teams, but I think in the end, against OU and West Virginia, they'll win out and claim the title.
All right, 2 for Kansas. Julien, you going to change that, or what do you think?
I'm going to be the left wing like I usually am on the show. I think Iowa State has a chance to probably be the dark horse. I really do. The way that they've been playing, the way that they have set themselves up in this season, they're almost tied with Kansas, and all they need is Kansas to have just one small hiccup like they did against Kansas State, and Iowa State could take the Big 12 championship, and I think that they actually can do it. And I didn't be honest with you, especially during the tournament, watch out for Iowa State.
Right. Well, Johnny, I really appreciate the other attempt at the metaphor. I think this one was better than the first. I think you probably thought about that one through the commercial break. Matt, I like your take, but Julien, I really think Iowa State has a chance, and I feel that's a good point because Kansas has been struggling lately, guys. They dropped one last week against West Virginia. I think there might be a path for them. So, Julien, you take the point there and the lead so far. So that's going to take us to our last break of the night. When we come back, we'll crown a winner in a rapid-fire round. Stay tuned. Thanks for sticking with us tonight on College Crossfire. Before we get into our rapid-fire round, let's take one last look at the scoreboard. Right now, Julien's with the lead at 3. Johnny, the person coming after a year of hiatus, at 2. And Matt, you got to recover here, man. You got 1, and if you want to continue your win streak, but that's how it looks right here. So we're going to go into our rapid-fire round, and each point is worth 2 points. So, Matt, you have a chance to come back through here. So our first one going in, a fact of the entertainment business is that once the paparazzi arrives, you'll never get rid of them. I know, because they're always around my house, right? Yankees execs got angry at A-Rod for arriving at spring training too early, bringing cameras and the press with him. Now, there has been plenty for the Yankees to be angry at A-Rod for already. But is there anything A-Rod can do right?
He's one of the most hated guys right now in baseball. I mean, what can he not do? Right. I mean, to be honest with you, he came out with an apology talking about what he did. He's sorry. He's sorry to the MLB fans. He's sorry to his fans. And people still didn't buy it. I didn't even buy it, and I'm an A-Rod fan. But, you know, at this point, it's just like, okay, continue with your life. I mean, as long as you continue.
Here is why A-Rod cannot do anything right in New York. One simple reason. Derek Jeter doesn't like the dude. Therefore, every Yankees fan, every Yankees executive hates him, rightfully so. But if Derek Jeter came out and said, give the guy a break, everyone would be off his back. But Derek Jeter doesn't like him, therefore no one will ever be okay
like
with
him
him.
if Derek Jeter said it was all right.
The only positive thing I have to say for Alex Rodriguez here is that Hank Aaron came out in support, hoping to see him come back here and make a run for it. So, I mean, again, I know he's not Derek Jeter, but this is Hank Aaron we're talking about, the home run king here.
Well, there'd be argued
The
that
Braves and Yankees, though, they've never really got along
he's the home
either.
run champion, right? I mean,
I think
unless he
Hank
still
Aaron is
counted.
just trying to mess with the Yankees.
All right. Well, look, I like Matt's take here. He brought in Henry Aaron. I think his weight. I really doubt that Derek Jeter himself owns the entire New York organization. Well, you can make a case for that, but Matt, we'll give that to you. So you are now tied in for the lead now, 3-3-2. So we go to our second rapid fire question, which surrounds a fan's most coveted action. A debate has developed as to whether storming the court should be made illegal.
What?
Whether or not that would happen at the Drum is a question in and of itself, but it seems Texas students are running out of time. Name the best moment that you could possibly storm the court for.
I'll give you last year's Kansas State Jonathan Holmes corner three when he made it to win the game.
They didn't do it, though.
Last year? Yes, they did.
They didn't storm the court.
They didn't storm the court, but that would have been a great time to storm the court.
Okay,
You said
we're going to the
best time,
past.
too.
All right.
I think we should have stormed the court right before the Kansas game. So it's like we already have them, you know?
They might have had a better chance of getting through, maybe. Matt, what you got?
I'm going to go even further back in the past, back to the national title game between UNC and Georgetown. You know, after Michael Jordan's great shot there in the end to get Dean Smith his first title.
Okay.
I would love to see the fans do it then, but.
I got you. Well, Matt, I like how you're going outside of the university around, but maybe something that ended up in Frank Gorin. I like Johnny's idea of getting into the storm the court. Did you remember how it was for students to get through to Kansas? It was like a freaking running of the bulls.
It was horrible.
I almost got run over
horrible.
getting in myself. But so Johnny gets his 2 points in, and for our last rapid fire, Karl Anthony Towns. Player for the Kentucky Wildcats, recently has been put on a lot of memes for Carlito, who is his imaginary friend. And his teammates and John Calipari have found him talking to the ground, apparently to no one. But later they found out that Karl Anthony Towns was talking to his imaginary friend who was on his shoulder. So I don't know if that's something that you guys ever had or grew out of, but have the best name for, if you would, your imaginary friend on your shoulder.
Jeff Barker.
God, dang it.
All right, can anybody go?
Oh, man.
My best imaginary friend was named Jeff.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
wouldn't
that's
say it,
already
but
taken. Can you
it's
come up
already
with anything
taken,
else?
so-
What about Brooks? So you might be able to weasel your way through that.
Yoda.
We got Yoda. Now what do you think?
Can you
Oh,
give me
man.
anything?
Vaughn Felice.
No.
No, not
All right,
Felice
come on.
here.
Somebody has to have another one.
Oh, man. No, we're not going Jar Jar Binks here either. Come on, guys.
So that's a little bit of an inside joke with Jar Jar. All right, anybody? Come on, you gotta come up with something.
Yeah, I'll stick with my Batman. Go with Dark Knight here.
Okay, the Dark Knight.
My little Jigglypuff.
Jigglypuff? All right, these were pretty weak. Johnny, you came in, you got that one. So, I personally, if I was going to have a angel on my shoulder or an imaginary friend on my shoulder, it's going to be my good old buddy Cam. See, Cam is a very smart individual who is high esteem and certainly has everything to do. Well, y'all don't know that's my first name, so works out pretty well for the business. But so from all of that, I mean, throughout wherever we go, we got stuff coming up over the weekend. I know you guys talk about Texas basketball. I mean, anything coming through? I mean, out here we have Reese Miller excited about NASCAR. What's coming up for you guys that you guys are excited for?
I'm excited.
Exactly.
Who watches it? I don't know. That's a major question for today. But
I'm just waiting for Selection Sunday, so
All right.
okay.
I'm excited.
nothing this weekend.
Okay. I know it might be a little bit early to talk about this. March Madness coming through. Who's the favorite? I mean, Wisconsin lost the other day to Maryland. Are they out of the 4? I mean, do they have
Well,
a chance
the
to come
debate this year is it's almost like old school golf, Tiger versus the field. You're going to have odds in Vegas, Kentucky versus the field.
See,
It's,
I was just about to say
Kentucky's that heavy a
Now,
favorite.
I'm about to say that's the biggest story for March Madness coming in. Can Kentucky keep their momentum going through the NCAA tournament? And I think they could.
Do they lose it all at the end of the season? I mean, they still have a tough
As weak
opponent
as
coming up.
As weak as the
SEC
SEC
no,
is,
I don't
no.
see Kentucky losing. But going into the tournament, we'll see where they.
Depending on how they look.
Yeah,
in the
I mean, obviously they'll
conference.
have #1 seed, but we'll have to see who they get paired with. Whether they keep,
Right.
want to put a Wisconsin at #2 and see
How
match
that
them up
goes.
later.
And you look at that Kentucky team, not only are they full of talent, 9 McDonald's All-Americans, they play so well together as a team. Coach Cal's done a great job. They're
And they're one of the
unbeatable
youngest
against
teams,
anyone
though.
in the country they go up against. 4 of the 5 best players on the court, no matter what, are Kentucky Wildcats.
It'll be certainly interesting to see. So we'll look into that. We'll probably have more to talk about that next week on Crossfire. But for now, we declare our winner, Jonny Cramer, coming in from a year. And guess what? You get your face time. You get a little bit of time to say what you want and say thanks to everybody for bringing you back in here or whatever you want to do.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to say again, thank you, Brooks Kubena. It's been a wonderful
right.
time. And I want to tell our audience at home, whoever you are, pick up the phone, call your mom, don't text, don't email. Oh, wait, J.K. Simmons already used that.
Well,
That was a-
all right. Well,
I thought that was an original speech, and it just hit me. I was recycling Oscar
Okay.
speeches.
I think I was the only one. who cut that
maybe
off.
get another chance at that next week. So that'll be fun. Thanks for coming on again, Johnny. We'll see you probably earlier on next week for maybe a chance to come on and get it a second try. But that's all the time we have for tonight. But don't worry, we'll be back next week. Same place, same time. For everyone else in Master Control, the studio, tonight's panel, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Are we giving you a Gatorade bath? Is this your first show?
Give his first show.
As a
Gatorade
champion?
man. Yeah.
All right.